Let's start with the Vancouver Charter. Vancouver Charter lays out the roles and responsibilities of the city with respect to the land within its boundaries and the inhabitants of the land within its boundaries. So, as you know, this is something that I've been working towards for years now, and my biggest concern has been with the top-down approach to planning that has been really emblematic of the last 10 years, which has led to the deep distrust by the citizens of what's going on in City Hall. So knowing this, I had really hoped that what we were going to see was a bottom-up exercise, but as I listened to your priorities coming through the way this was laid out, I saw, again, a top-down approach where you were prescribing values and so we'll create the paradigm and then people can respond to that. Don't you think that's backwards? Don't you think we should be prioritizing as our number one activity going to the people of the city and asking them what kind of city they want to live in the future? My concern is I saw too much emphasis on stakeholder groups and on values-driven activities as opposed to just, you talk about listening, but you kind of got to that point. So my question and my challenge back to you is, what about the people of the city? Why are they not the number one priority in this exercise?
Well, I apologize. Maybe we're having two different conversations because I feel like that is where I started, and that is what we're doing. We're not predetermining values. We've only said we need to have a values-based conversation with the community. We have articulated some things with the slide of the little girl, for example, that have been common concerns. We have not tried to say how those play out or how we would address them, coming through any number of conversations with you all and with processes, including with community leaders up to this point. So we're simply saying a future vision for the city has to wrestle with what people are already telling us. That does not say we're not starting by doing even deeper listening with neighborhoods now. We're not going out with any predetermined framework. I was trying to make that clear in the presentation. Apparently it didn't quite, but...
Well, not in the order of things as they were presented. Certainly, if you go back, your priorities, we got to the people in the neighborhoods, but we didn't start there. So I'm questioning fundamentally why we're not starting with the neighborhoods, why we didn't start with a map of the city broken down with the neighborhoods, why that's kind of plugged in there. What we started with was aspirational, values-driven. These are the ways that we think the city should be operating, rather than asking the people. Because ultimately what the city's role is the management of the land. Land use change, is it not?
Yeah, I'm not sure we're articulating different pathways here. I think we are wanting to, in the first instance, as I tried to say a number of times, going out without any predetermined mental constructs here to ask people what is important to them. That is the very foundation of this effort.
But I don't know how you can say that, because there was a list of constructs and values very implicitly right from the very beginning of your presentation. I'd also like to ask you, given, again, we had a big change election back in October, and there was a lot of pushback on existing policies and plans. And yet, given that concern on the part of the electorate and the inhabitants of this city, why would you be recommending that we continue along with plans and fold those into the citywide plan when we've heard so broadly that people do not embrace those
I'd like to make a distinction between folding in as is and allowing those to roll while we are doing the plan. Those are two different thoughts. And I said the latter. We need to... The absence of any plan or policy in the interim is not a good place to be for you or for the community. So my suggestion is that we allow the existing policies to stand. You can amend them at any time during this process. That is different than saying those are automatically folded into the effort as is and will not be challenged and evaluated during the process. In fact, our hope is that they will. So I think those are two very different statements there.
Okay, but as we've seen, we're continuing to roll along as if these are done deals, these plans that were brought in under, again, the prior councils.
Yeah.